So I'm about to start chapter 41 of Oathbringer. So it's page 441 that we're about to go into. And since we last spoke, not a huge amount of page time has gone past, but a lot of information dumps have happened, and there's some pretty big implications for the world ahead. So let's talk about it. I want to start with Shallan. So Jasnah is back. Shallan is in this strange position where she is like kind of a part of the Ghost Bloods, but she also believes that she isn't. She basically has an alter ego, Vale, who is a Ghost Blood, realistically, at this point. And she doesn't want to tell Jasnah or anybody else, potentially for fear that the Ghost Bloods have infiltrated, you know, those people. Definitely not Jasnah, but those people. However, I just think she's making exactly the same mistake that she made in the first book and that she seems to make over and over again, which is not trusting the people around her to do what's in her best interest and to move towards the same goal. It's so frustrating. It's unbelievable. And I think what's going to happen is she's going to put herself in a position where Jasnah finds out before she tells her affiliation with the Ghost Bloods, and that is going to be an absolute nightmare. So overall, Shallan is frustrating me a lot. And I can't help but think on a wider scale, and I get this feeling that Shallan is going to be the one that dooms us. And I remember the first book on the blurb, it said that I think there's 4 characters, one of them, and referring to, I believe, Shallan, Zeph, Dalinar, and Kaladin. And it says one of them is going to doom us. And I just can't help but think it's going to be Shallan. Initially, of course, I thought it was Zeph, but I just think he's too one-dimensional. Shallan, whatever this huge secret is that she's holding on to, I think it's devastating. And I have a feeling that she might not even actually be Shallan. Potentially Shallan is like an alter ego, because she's already building these alter egos. She's got Radiant, she's got Vale, which is her Ghost Blood, Radiant, which is the Radiant her, and then Shallan. She seems to be losing Shallan a bit. So what's to say that she actually doesn't have a different alter ego that's the deep down one, and that's the big secret that she's hiding? So I don't know. She frustrates me because when she's on form, she's probably my favorite one to read. Kaladin is fantastic. He's very courageous, but again, it's like relatively predictable what he's going to do. Dalinar's amazing, grappling with who he is, but he seems to do the right thing every time. Shallan is like more of a wild card, and I love her relationship with Patton, and I love her abilities and skills. I just think they're the most interesting out of all of them. And the idea that I believe that she's going to slowly turn that group of essentially bandits that she has who are tied to her, Gaz and the others, because they're hanging around with her, they're obviously going to pick up some of her powers. So she's going to have this like unreal spy network, which is going to be such a useful tool depending on how she decides to use it. And I do want to believe that Shallan's good, and I think that eventually long term she will be, but I just think that it's going to be a winding road to get there. So Jasnah is back. She's dominating plans. She's essentially dominating Shallan again. And I like how much of a boss she is. She just comes in and wants it all to go exactly the way she thinks. And she's typically correct. One thing I already predicted is I think any interactions with Jasnah and Taravangian increases the chances that Jasnah figures out Taravangian's actual intellectual level. And I don't think she'll figure out the whole thing immediately, but you know, if a very intelligent, or if not a like super intelligent Taravangian, because I think that he'll be able to hide efficiently who he is, but maybe like a above where he should be intelligent Taravangian may give himself away. So I'm very interested and excited about that. We also have a strange moment where Patton tells Shallan that the room has memories, and Jasnah is going to search it in Shadesmar. We haven't learned anything about Shadesmar in a long while, and it feels like Jasnah is obviously going to be our teacher in this, because Shallan really hasn't delved into it at all. So I would guess once Shallan really reconciles her whatever feelings she's feeling about Jasnah, because she's definitely, Jasnah kind of hit the nail on the head. She's enjoyed her freedom, but there's so much she can learn from her. I think that we're going to delve back into Shadesmar probably at the end of this book, as long as Shallan gets her act together and starts using this connection with the Ghost Bloods to actually help Dalinar and the others. And another thing we figure out, or we're told by Mraize, or we think it's Mraize, based on the note, is that her brother was a skybreaker. And there was Nale, or Nail, people pronounce it. And on the other side, there was Gavilar. And they were both essentially going head to head, from my understanding, Sons of Honor and Skybreakers, going head to head. One to bring the desolations so the heralds would come back, and one to stop anything like that happening. And the Sky Father tells us why later on. And it's a lot that we'd already guessed, but it's nice to have fantastic confirmation. And the idea of Gavilar and Nale going head to head, and the idea that potentially, or no, we definitely know that Nale was there at the death of Gavilar. So I'd like to know a lot more about his involvement in that. So that opens a lot more questions and doors as well. But this period, this part of the book, we learn so much, and it's a lot of like revelations that I think we're gonna see the impacts from for the rest of this book. So the Stormfather explains in the visions. What he talks about is he confirms that the ancestors of the Parshendi were twisted by odium, and they now kind of inhabit or fuse with current Parshendi to create the fused. They're full of hate, anger, just frustration, every bad emotion you can think of, but mainly hate, because that's what odium is. And they essentially have unlimited new bodies they can move into because of the amount of Parshendi. So the obvious option is destroying all the Parshendi. But is there a way that one of them could fuse with a human or something like that? I'm not sure. I don't know if that's how that works or not. But that cannot be the answer, to annihilate the Parshendi. I know Kaladin will not allow it to be the answer. So what could the answer be? I'm not quite certain yet. I haven't had enough time to think on it. There will be a poetic, beautiful answer to the problem, but I just have no idea what it is yet. I believe there must just be a way to destroy them. There's no way that they're never ending and that they can continuously come back. There must be a way to end that. So I would guess that they discover that way to end that. Maybe if we can get a Spren into one of the fused, they can like battle it out. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but yes, huge information. The next thing we figure out is, and we kind of knew this already, the heralds were selected. The only one who was like the one that shouldn't have been was Town. Ironically, he's the only one who was left behind in damnation. And essentially what happened was they would battle. When they die, they go to damnation. When Odium's people, or not people, but the Spren of Odium and his minions get a hold of them, they are tortured. And they are tortured until essentially they give in. And then I believe when they give in, they're reborn. And they give up. And they say, okay, I want to go back. I can't take this torture anymore. And then when that happens, the desolation occurs again. Or when just one of them gives in, I think it is. The desolation occurs again. And it was getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter until, I think they said it was like only 2 years or maybe 1 year between the desolation and then the one that we read in the prologue. But there's only one person who never gave up, and it was the one who shouldn't have been. He wasn't a king, he wasn't a queen, he wasn't anything super special to be selected as a herald, and it's Town. And he lasted 4.5 millennia until today when we meet him. Now, what happened to Town? I honestly can't remember. Did he go with Amarin? Or did he stop Amarin from murdering the real Veil? I can't remember. I cannot remember. I'd have to go back and read that bit. But Town has a very big part to play in this still. And what does this mean? I'm not certain. Maybe we need some new heralds. I don't know if that can happen. But the gathering of the heralds, and maybe one of the plans was to kill one of the heralds and send them back there. Maybe it's a good plan. I don't know. So we shall see. There's a lot of options that have opened up. Could there be new heralds that we send back? If we break the oath completely, or would that also stop the Spren of Odium being able to come back over and over again? I don't know. There's too many unanswered questions, but it's extremely exciting. However, the biggest secret of them all seems to be what made the Radiance break their oath. And it wasn't knowing that the heralds broke theirs. It was something completely different. And I honestly have no ideas. I sat and thought about this for a while. What could be worse than knowing your idols and leaders broke their oaths? It's something the Stormfather doesn't even want to talk about. It's something huge. I'm gonna have to think on it even more. I suppose this one is more of a reaction video. There's so much that I don't know the answers to, but I'm going to continue thinking on it and see where we go, because it's enticing. Extra thoughts. Dalinar did spare the child when he took the shard blade. I don't know how I didn't believe in him. Well, I do, because he just seemed like an absolute monster back there. So that's awesome. Maybe that's the first sign of him changing in the right direction. Another thing as well is, I think in the head notes we're getting maybe Race speaking with Sephandrius, which we know is Hoyd, and he's talking about frustration that other shards shared a planet. And as far as I'm aware, I think the 2 shards on the planet for the book that I just read, Elantris, are both gone. And he mentions 2 names and that they were destroyed, but he also that they shouldn't be sharing planets. So potentially he's talking about that planet, but I don't know. Other things that happened that were small and added in there. Another thing is the gemstone column. So we have dispelled the Unmade from there, or Shallan dispelled the Unmade from there. She's not entirely sure how she did it. We're not entirely sure how she did it. Bit suspicious. Again, suggests Shallan is more than what she seems. But what does the column do, and why was the Unmade hiding on it? I don't think she would hide on there for no reason at all, especially not so close to so many of her enemies. It seems unlikely. So what could that column do with that many gemstones on it? It could supercharge, and then I could guess if it was in a storm somehow, it could be like supercharged and then used as like a massive well of energy, but not really sure. Again, something I need to do some more thinking on. A lot of the things that popped up here are huge and massive, and I think I need more time to think on them, and hopefully I'll have some answers for you guys next time. Final thing, Shallan likes Kaladin. She sketches him without thinking. She likes him. This is going to be a bit of a nightmare. I like her and Adolin. Her and Kaladin I don't think are going to be as good a match. It's going to rip apart the people and some of the things that we have in place. Like Adolin's going to be absolutely furious. Dalinar, obviously, it will affect him as well. So the fallout of that is going to be disgusting. But Kaladin really doesn't have a good match. So, and I'm sure Adolin will be fine. It seems destined that they're going to at least explore the idea of a relationship with each other. So that's going to be a nightmare. So there's a lot of setup in this section here. The next sections, I'm hoping that we just stay in the tower. I want to see Jasnah and Taravangian interact. I would like to see what we do with this information from the Stormfather and the kind of ideas that the team comes up with on how to deal with it. But surely this book heads towards Kholinar. That seems to be the only direction that we can go. And I'm hoping that we don't see the absolute annihilation of the Parshendi and we find some kind of solution. Those are my hopes. A couple of predictions in there as well. I will see you next week. Thank you for your time.